We have a design for a game here, which you can see on our desktop here, our cat and mouse game that we drafted up on the board earlier. So first thing we need to do is we want to go into Scratch, but we want to put elements of that design into Scratch. So what you should do in a lot of multimedia programs is save your work straight away, okay? So we're just going to click on the save button here. I'm going to save it onto my desktop. You choose where to save it, okay? It can be anywhere. So on my desktop here, I'm going to call this file, I'm just going to call it CatMouse v1 for version 1, okay? You can put later versions out later. If you want to, by all means, follow along with what I'm doing here. The project author, I'm just going to put my own name in here. Okay, so what we've done is we've used our design to help us feed into about this project section. I filled in the project author here, the file name, I've browsed the desktop, so I'm going to save it there. And then I've put a little note in here explaining about the gameplay and the general gist of the game, so that when a new developer or another person on the team picks up on the game, they can read those project notes and catch up quickly on what the project is about. The first part of the project is to find my two sprites, okay? So I already have a cat sprite here, but I might choose a different one. So in the animal section here, I'm going to choose inbuilt characters, but by all means you've got the skills to import characters. The look and feel of the game is a cartoonish look and feel, so the sprites that are inbuilt suit what we have. I like this guy here, he looks quite sinister, so I think I might put him in. And I'll get rid of this sprite by just using the right click and delete. Now what will be handy when I am writing my code, rather than have sprite 2 and sprite 1 and so on as the names, I can pop up here to the central area here and rename that sprite to cat, okay? That would be very handy, because when I'm programming something to do with the cat, I can refer to him by his name. I'm going to introduce the mouse character as well. Now the one thing I do notice is that these two characters take up a lot of my stage area. Even in full screen here, a lot of my stage area is taken up by the characters. So the first thing is I'll apply a bit of basic editing here. I'll click on the shrink sprite button up here and I'll just shrink them right down, so I think they'll take up more of an appropriate space on the screen. Okay, so I'll shrink the cat. I'll just click on the cat and I'll shrink him right down as well. It's usually appropriate as well. The cat is a little bigger than the mouse. Now, the other thing I will do as well is I'll click on sprite 1 and I'll change that character's name to mouse. Okay, so you can see here in my sprite selection area I've got the cat and the mouse. So the mouse is now active because I want to write a script for the mouse, and the cat is going to have his own separate script when I click on him. So when I have the mouse selected, you can see in my central bank here, my scripts area, that the mouse is active, and any script that I click on will act out on the mouse. So the first thing I want to do is I want to put controls in place so that when I hit certain keys, certain things will happen. So I'm going to pull out 4 different controls for the different keys I use, and I'm going to apply the up arrow, down arrow, left arrow and right arrow to these, so that I can map out to my design that states that these controls will move the mouse character around. So on each of those I've got to change the motion. So I'm going to have to change the X and the Y coordinates to move this mouse. So when I'm moving up and down, the Y coordinates move up and down, and when I'm moving from right to left, the X coordinates move. Now if we know our maths, we know that if you move up, you go by 10, but if I want to move down, I've got to change by, anyone know? Minus 10, very good, yeah. And I'll just grab my X there. So can everyone just try and program their keys so that when you move your arrow keys around like so, you can get the feel of your mouse moving around under control.